of 1990s It traumatized an entire generation of children. Simply put, they would never go anywhere near a bathroom ever again.
Here I am, Wheezy.
The film ran over 2 nights on ABC. Was watched by an estimated 30 million newly minted choraphobes, making it a massive hit and vaulting Pennywise into the pop culture zeitgeist.
Swear to me that if it isn't dead, I'll come back.
Pennywise is played in the TV movie by Dr. Frankenfurter himself, Tim Curry. His minimalist look in the film was born out of the fact that Mr. Curry had just finished a stint playing another subterranean being, Satan. And he was kind of sick of having nasty prosthetics glued to his face all day, which, to be fair, doesn't really explain this GIF-worthy moment.
Praise God.
They all flow down here.
The other source of inspiration for Pennywise's look in the film may be one of the all-time classic movie monsters, Lon Chaney's version of Phantom of the Opera. The TV movie also retained the 1950s, 1980s timeline, assuring that Pennywise would show up as classic movie monsters like the Mummy, the Teenage Werewolf, and the spookiest monster of all time, a skeleton. His penchant for surprising people with blood is also on full display, as well as his lackluster career as a Catskills stand-up comedian.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
Just to the most current version of America's favorite dancing clown, played by a son of a Skarsgård.
Beep, beep, Richie.
This version of Pennywise is much more feral and alien-like than his previous incarnations, but he still shares the thing that's always been the hallmark of the character, a beautiful set of chompers. So, to recap, Pennywise, or It, awakens every 27 years in the small Maine town of Derry, home to, among other things, a tacky...
Do you want a balloon? Hi, my dear followers, friends, viewers, or welcome if it's the first time you are watching my YouTube channel. It. In few minutes I'm going to show you all the deleted scenes of It 1990, because I was very lucky to be born in the mythical 80s. So when it was released in 1990, I was a little girl. It. I'm going to show you all the deleted scenes, all the extended scenes, and very, very rare curiosities that few of you know. But now, before going back to my personal computer, It released in 1990 directly on TV. The director was Tommy Lee Wallace, and of course the mini-series was based on the huge novel by Stephen King. So many pages. So they called as a screenwriter for a film adaptation of It, the masterpiece novel by Stephen King, that was very, very, very long, a so huge novel. So you must know that Lawrence D. Cohen had been also the screenwriter of the masterpiece movie Carrie. Carrie, always based on the masterpiece novel Carrie, always by Stephen King. And And he was the screenwriter of Carrie, released in 1976. Director, the mythical Brian De Palma. So the script of it was made by Lawrence D. Cohen with Tommy Lee Wallace. Tim Curry was playing it, also called Pennywise. And I want to remind you that the director, Tommy Lee Wallace, immediately thought about Tim Curry for it as Pennywise, but he was skeptical about the interest of a so huge actor as Tim Curry to be interested in playing it. So they thought the first choice could be Tommy Lee Wallace, and also the crew thought about Malcolm McDowell, unforgettable for this so tough role in another masterpiece, A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. Then they also thought about Roddy McDowell to play the part of Pennywise, but then they called Tim Curry. Tim Curry also played in a very great movie. I'm not only talking about the masterpiece, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but also in the fantasy movie, one of my favorite movies ever, Legend, the masterpiece fantasy film by Ridley Scott with Tom Cruise, and Tim Curry played the part of darkness, played the part of the devil. So he was extraordinary in Legend, released in 1985. So they called Tim Curry, and fortunately Tim Curry accepted to play the role of Pennywise. Then I want to remind you a very great actor, Richard Thomas, who played the role of William Bill Denbrough, who was the older brother of the poor Georgie. And I also want to remind you that Richard Thomas played the role of Bill Denbrough, adult, but the part of the little guy was unfortunately then a dead, very young actor. I'm talking about Jonathan Brandis. Jonathan Brandis. When I watched The Neverending Story 2, the Neverending Story 2, the next chapter, Jonathan Brandis was an adolescent, so handsome. Really, he was an idol for all the girls, the teenager. He was so talented, so handsome. He had everything to become one of the greatest actors. In fact, he was a bright rising actor, but unfortunately Jonathan Brandis later suffered from a very deep depression, and unfortunately, when I got to know this news, I was completely shocked and in tears. He took his life away on November the 12th in 2003, when he was only 27. He had all his life in front of his eyes, and also I'm sure that he was in fact a bright rising actor, and I'm sure that now he will be only 48. So such a very great loss, Jonathan Brandis, I want to remind you. And I want to remind you that in this movie there was also Olivia Hussey, who played the role of Audra, the wife of William Bill Denbrough. And I want to remind you that Olivia Hussey also played in the horror movie Psycho 4, the beginning, in the playing the part of the mother of Norman Bates, played by the unforgettable Anthony Perkins. And then think about that in 2004 and maybe it's still right now in 2024, it is at first place in the top chart of the scariest TV series on American TV. Think about the second place is X-Files, and then Twin Peaks. I don't know if third place, fourth place. Oh my God! I want to tell you that I want to make you clear this very important particular, because when they talk about the inspiration for It, Pennywise, many people told you that Stephen King was inspired by a real serial killer who was a clown too. I'm talking about John Wayne Gacy, also known as Killer Clown, or he himself called Pogo the Clown. In the 70s, John Wayne Gacy, who also had other jobs before, he was a dancing clown for birthday parties for children, or to entertain children in parties. And instead, he was one of the fiercest serial killer of history, because it's for sure that in the 70s he brutally kidnapped, tortured, sodomized, raped minors and young guys. And his victims were almost 33 young guys. Oh my God! He was condemned to death penalty, and while he was in jail, he liked drawing, make many drawings, and he often drew clowns. And one of his drawings was almost identical to it. The look of it in the TV series in 1990. And later, 2 minutes, I'm going to show you also this drawing by this ferox serial killer who was condemned to death, and then he was executed through lethal injection on May the 10th, 1994. And now let's go to watch all the It 1990 deleted scene, extended scenes, and curiosities you don't even imagine. Let's go! Do you want a balloon? And now, a young Stephen King tells you about his inspiration to write It.
On the edge of town, there was nothing there, and you could see the dealership, but it was a ways away, and the path went across this bridge, a little arched, humpbacked wooden bridge, and I'm walking across it, and I can hear my heels clacking on the bridge, and I flashed to this story when I was a kid about these goats that were going across a bridge, and there's this troll underneath, and saying, "Who's that trip-trapping on my bridge?" And I thought, wouldn't it be a scream if something just reached up now and grabbed me and pulled me down there, and that was the last anybody heard of old Stevie King. But the incident stayed in my mind, and over a period of 5 years, I would come back to that, and little by little, I began to evolve the story, until now it's developed into a novel. It's about 1,300 pages long. It's called It, and it all came from that one little moment of fear, and I think that a moment of fear is worth having if you can get something good out of it.
This is Tim Reed, Richard, in Virginia. It's back. I found a picture of Georgie.
Its enduring
And
power
now,
may come from
look at this.
Its enduring power may come from the chords it strikes among all of us. We're all human beings, and we were all children once.
It's amazing to me, all these years later, how people are still coming up and talking about that it has this lasting effect and impact.
You never think that something you've created will, this will live on forever.
As an actor, I didn't really...
Some pretty serious talk about what it's like for each of us to be a child. The fun and the scary parts.
Most TV movies disappear into oblivion. I think the fact that it is consistently played on cable has opened it to a much wider audience. It was one of the first terrifying miniseries. People were invested in it. It became an event. Something's coming. And because it was made for TV, it allowed a younger audience to view it as well.
Little kids who saw it on television, it's still in their minds as the scariest thing they've ever seen.
It does. It does. Same dirt road, same old Grange Hall at the end of the road.
That's you.
That's me when I sold my first story. I looked a little bit surprised about the whole thing.
Stephen King is such great drama and mystery, and for as much as his books are about horrific things, they are mostly about deeply human psychological thought processes, so you get a lot of deep character study.
Well, I'd read most of the books because he's a master at narrative, and he tells a whacking good story.
People would say you ought to write about what you know. I grew up in a small town We had no running water. I went to a one-room school with all the grades together, and somebody had to go up to a house and bring back water, and to me the whole existence was not pastoral or beautiful or anything. It was just boring. I wanted to be in outer space. I wanted to fight monsters in the swamps of the Amazon. So those were the things that I wrote about. And later I found a way to blend those two interests. My interest in what was strange and alien and the places where I lived and where I grew up.
One of the first people to have the idea that a clown could be a scary figure. Did you find clowns scary when you were a kid?
Well, you know, as a kid going to the circus, it would be like 12 full-grown people that would all pile out of a little tiny car. Their faces were dead white. Their mouths were red as though they were full of blood. They're all screaming. Their eyes are huge. What's not to like, you know?
And clowns very differently.
I can't go to circuses. I can't go somewhere where there's clowns. Even a picture of it.
What's going to happen if you look at it?
It is a phobia, and it is called colorophobia. The majority of people that are afraid of clowns are adults.
At the time, John Wayne Gacy had just happened, so we're dealing with people being afraid of clowns, the guy next door that's a threat.
At one point I saw a painting of Pennywise that Gacy had done.
A dark landscape, a portrait of Elvis, and a scene with 7 dwarfs. But this is the work of John Wayne Gacy, an evil man who buried more than 25 of his victims in the crawl space of his own house. Arts Factory owner showed us 5 pieces, including this Pennywise the Clown from Stephen King's It.
I was like, should I be flattered or offended? I don't know how I feel about this.
The scary
Oh my God!
Pennywise and John Wayne Gacy didn't do the best job in creating a positive image of clowns, and I'm sure it wasn't Tim Curry's goal to have people hate clowns for the rest of their lives, but I think it is kind of a hallmark of a good performance.
He had a tremendous impact on growing people's fears about clowns.
I can't say that I ever saw clowns as being threatening, although I loved being threatening.
Let go. Be afraid.
It was a lot of fun.
There's enough room in our understanding of clowns to have some of them be not so scary, to be sweet and nice, and to be some of them just downright awesome.
And now listen to the mythical Tim Curry.
I do remember that we had brought up Rocky Horror Show and said, look at that.
I had to buy the Rocky Horror Picture Show album. I had to buy the books. I had to buy the scripts. You're a very expensive date.
I know. Just the freedom of the character, the intensity that he gave to it was so wonderful, and you could see that this would translate brilliantly into a horror character.
How about that? We were focused on Tim Curry.
I think he's one of the best actors that's ever come out of England, and I don't think he gets his due.
Was there any time in your life when you said, I want to be an actor? Yes, I did, actually. What is there in it which appeals to you most?
Sort of voluntary schizophrenia, really. It's a high-risk profession, and I enjoy risks.
He's created so many iconic characters that we've known through time, and they've been so uniquely different.
You said that being British in Hollywood means that you're usually stuck playing a butler or a villain, but that's okay with you.
I think that they probably feel that we bring some kind of style to the job that we might not necessarily have acquired in the States.
Yeah, but you know what I think it is about you? I think it's that you're very seductive. And I thought if you were the devil, I would pay to go to hell.
His darkness character has stood out from any other devil I've ever seen.
Looking at his body of work, I feel like there's nothing that he can't do.
And the challenge was, is he available? Is he interested? Can we make a deal?
I'll kill you all.
Will the network be okay with it?
You priceless.
Of course, everyone was.
I didn't audition or even do a meeting. They just asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, yes, I did.
Tim Curry just had all those elements.
Kiss me, fat boy.
He brought more
to the character than was written on the page. So,
do you remember Jonathan Brandis? People who have my age know who Jonathan Brandis was, and he's still a legend for us, for his tragic death. Unexplainable. Really, really. Watch.
First kid that was cast was Jonathan Brandis, because he just was rich. And when you look at it, oh my God, he can reach points of pain and depth very simply, deeply, very quickly.
It's some kind of monster. And it's right here in Derry.
I had a crush on Jonathan Brandis, for sure. I thought he was pretty cute.
My heart runs there too.
I remember he was on the cover of every Teen Beat magazine.
Brought an awful lot of gravity to that role that somehow was a good emotional match for his adult counterpart, Richard Thomas.
I remember Jonathan because we met, we talked, to get a feeling of the same person, but that felt like it was an essential meeting to have. I don't know if he had to put a mole on his cheek. He did. They made him put a mole on his cheek. Oh, the poor kid. That's terrible. That's right. He had to wear a mole. Oh, God.
They both had something in their personalities that's serious, that takes the cruel world and the hurts and the angers and the angst of it all and takes it personally and wants to do something about it.
I'm going back in. This time I'm going to kill it.
There's a sense of nobleness about both of those people. And Jonathan had that as a child.
Now listen, you guys don't have to do this.
And he was the natural leader of the kid actors, too. He didn't do it by making a lot of noise. He just did it by being who he was.
I felt very close to that character when I read it. When a script comes to you, or a play text, and you read it, you can feel the proximity of the character, the affinity that you have, and you can feel the distance. But with Bill, I just thought, oh no, I know how this feels, I know who this guy is.
It was the Bill, Georgie, Pennywise sequence with the observation of what siblings were, but emotionally I believed in the truth of those brothers loud and clear, and I thought the scene was one of Steve's best.
You made it for me? Can I go sail it?
I remember the scene assembling the boat with Jonathan Brandis and giving him the kiss and how awkward that was.
Yuck.
But he was a great guy. I was completely stunned. I had no idea that he had been suffering any kind of depression or any other issues. All I knew is he was working. I think he just finished a movie with Bruce Willis, Heart's War. He had an incredible run on Sequest. He'd learned the craft of directing.
What you do is sit and watch 70s television on a channel, and just to find out all the ways you shouldn't direct a television.
It's just, they're shot kind of cheesy, and I just kind of want to learn how to do something different with television.
He was doing everything a resourceful actor could do. I think he had everything in front of him, and I was excited to see him moving forward. I was blown away because he's my age. That was probably one of the first times I ever even considered my own mortality.
Found the way to really lure you in like Georgie in the sewer.
Exactly.
When Georgie is first taken by Pennywise, which is a great scene when he follows the boat down the street in the rain.
The effects guys had done this brilliant job to figure out how to get the boat to flow all in one take.
Tom D. Wallace opened the sewer grate, which is just a manhole cover, which is about 4 feet away from the sewer, and had Tim crouch down and speak,
"Hi, Georgie,"
into the sewer.
We had a strange day to
Lights, also known as It, also known as The Deadlights, also known as Robert Gray. Stephen King hasn't really gone on record about his inspirations for It, causing some to believe that the events of the 1986 novel drew comparisons to a serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, a birthday clown in Chicago during the 1970s who did unspeakable things to more than 30 victims. He would later stash the kids in the crawl space of his basement, not so different from Pennywise's penchant for dragging his victims' corpses into the sewers below Derry, Maine. Pennywise
in the deadlights now.
And you know what? It's true what they say. We all float down here, and you will too. In fact, they all float there.
His eyes open, and they are the eyes of
And now I start with all the deleted scenes from It 1990. I start.
Thank you.
Oh, I hope you're going to enjoy your little reunion.
Are any of the others here?
No, sir, you're the first to arrive. And may I say, sir, that we are very proud of you. Hometown boy makes good.
Thanks.
And if there's any way that I can be of service, I want you to ask for me, Betty Ruth Blair. That's me. Betty Ruth is one word. Betty Ruth.
What the hell am I doing here?
There's not really all that much to see here, mister. There was all this talk about revitalizing downtown. Well, they tore down all these great old stores, put up a lot of banks and parking lots.
What about the Paramount? That's still there?
Good. See for yourself.
Here you go.
You sure you don't want me to wait? No thanks, I'll walk back.
Georgie. How could I have forgotten? I'm so sorry.
Take your pick, Billy boy.
And now I want to finish this documentary with a rare diamond, the extended, uncut death of Georgie. Not in all the countries has been shown in extended version. This is the extended version of Georgie death. I go.
Georgie,
careful.
Sure, sure.
Georgie. Aren't you going to say hello? Oh, come on, bucko. Don't you want a balloon?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers. My dad said so.
Very wise of your dad, Georgie. Very wise indeed. I, Georgie, am Pennywise, the dancing clown. You are Georgie. So now we know each other. Correct?
I guess so. I gotta go.
Go? Without this?
My boat!
Exactly. Go on, kiddo. Take it. Oh, you want it, don't you, Georgie? Oh, of course you do. And there's cotton candy and rides and all sorts of surprises down here. And balloons, too. All colors.
Do they float?
Oh, yes. They float, Georgie. They float. And when you're down here with me, you float too!
Fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table.
I want to thank you, all my followers, friends. See you soon. Stay tuned.